And that TTM squeeze actually has scanners built up to it as well, which I'll show you in a minute. But Apple, same thing, so it's squeezed right before the entire run-up. Again, indicators, so you see a squeeze right at the beginning using MACD or even your stochastic, but mainly your MACD. Your fast line's below the slow line, so you wouldn't want to play that squeeze at that point. But right here, when it squeezes, your fast line's above the slow line. Same with on the stochastic indicator as well. And you could have just, at that point, rode the momentum up. Same here, it's squeezed up. The MACD is right on the slow and fast, but better than, you know, not necessarily a bearish indicator. That's using it on the daily. I actually like it a lot on, I believe it was, what squeezed really hard this week? I forget what it was, Monday or Tuesday. Should have that. Hold on, just Tuesday. Yeah, EQ was later on in the week, but
he's thinking of SRRK.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, SRRK did do well, but yeah. So yeah, anyway, the 78 minutes, 78 minute, 39 minute. Why are they not there? There they are. Those three, 39 minute, 78 minute, and 195 minute. I know that sounds really weird, but some guy that's really looked into this whole squeeze indicator has used those particular time frame, so to speak. I think it was SRRK. Oops. But it was one that squeezed really hard that hadn't really run. Yeah, that's SRRK. Now, the MACD is sitting on it. You know, again, it's not looking necessarily bearish. But yeah, it squeezed really hard before that huge run-up. Like I said, you would have had no idea really up or down at this point because, I mean, it's flat before then. So not necessarily that I would have played it, but if for some reason SRRK was even on your scanner to begin with where you were looking at it, but that's where those scanners that I'll show you in just a second kind of come into play because it would have picked this up and it would have been on that scanner. But if you just haven't had it on that watch list, as soon as you saw it begin to climb, you would probably want to jump into it and know that it's actually a squeeze at that point. It's not a short squeeze. I know that's the term you're probably familiar with a short squeeze, but that's not what it's referring to. It has no idea of how many shorts are in this stock. That's not how it's determining the squeeze value of the stock. And again, it's squeezing here, but right now I wouldn't be playing it because of the, you know, it being below the MACD. It's on a downward momentum. But yeah, that was one. I think it was SPI maybe too. Tuesday. Well, SPI did squeeze, as you can see, squeezed pretty hard. Again, the MACD is just kind of sitting on it, so it's not necessarily bearish or bullish. But you would have, that's a long squeeze. You would have been holding it quite a bit, waiting for that big run up. But again, the indicator still showed that it squeezed. And the beauty with this indicator is using the different time frames. So it actually, on that, I believe we're on the 78 minute. If you switch it to the 39 minute, it didn't squeeze at all. I guess it squeezed way before. But once it goes green, that means the squeeze is fired. So technically, it's on the 39 minute chart, it's already gotten out of the squeeze before it changed off. But But if you used all the different time frames and kind of went through it, and I have scanners for every one. So if you see on this time frame, which is I believe what at 195 minutes, it's squeezed right before that big run up as well. Squeezed on this indicator. Again on this one, it's squeezed right before that. Using that, the 195 minute is definitely more of a, I don't know how well I'd use that intraday. I've actually been trying to use this intraday on like a 3-minute time frame, this squeeze indicator. And sometimes it works, but that's the reason that I've set up one of my grids when I just click on chart. It's actually on right now a short squeeze grid, which is 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute, and 1 hour. And the only indicators I'm using here are just different exponential moving averages to make sure the stock is in an upward trend when I'm seeing that squeeze to give me an idea of whether I want to play it. But as you can see, it squeezed a little bit, but then it fired before it ran there, so it really didn't help you much. On this one, it squeezed right before, but it also fired before it ran. But I've also got a long squeeze grid, which is the same thing, but it's on that 39-minute, 78-minute, 195, and daily. So again, squeezed pretty hard right there before it on that 195 minute, right before that run up. On that's UUU actually. It switches tickers when I load up the save. But yeah, that's UUU. Now that we're looking at, but again, it's squeezed, whatever we were looking at. But so I really like that indicator. I don't want to use that indicator only. I don't recommend that at all because it definitely can squeeze to the downside as well as to the upside. But using that combined with everything else that we've been talking about lately with adding as far as the MACD, RSI, if you use RSI, I used to use RSI quite a bit, but I don't use it that much now. Then it works really well. Let me show you real quick those scanners I'm talking about. Actually, I could just go to, just gonna switch it on OBS. But it's a long squeeze scan, basically is using the actual daily squeeze pattern. I've actually got a short squeeze scan. I believe I've got a super short squeeze scan. Well, short squeeze, super short squeeze. But I really don't use this in the scanning, in the scanner, like actual tab or whatnot. I use it on my watch list. So I have a watch list over here. Let me transition to that. So yeah, I've got a watch list over here that I actually change from the squeeze to whatever one I'm looking at. And it catches all of those. So if I wanted on the 78-minute squeeze, I believe that's my just general squeeze scan. Short squeeze scan is much shorter than that. And again, super short squeeze is much shorter than that. But you can change the time frame to whatever you want on that squeeze, the original squeeze scanner itself. And it just brings up all these stocks. So even though SRRK had no reason to be on anybody's radar when it flat for days before it squeezed, this particular scanner would have picked it up. Every single one that you click on here, if you're looking at the right time frame, whatever one it is on your actual scanner itself, daily or 78-minute or whatever, if you're looking at the chart on that and you're looking at the TTM squeeze, it's squeezing. It's in the red. So it's currently one that you might want to watch. But I mean, there's 100 of them probably. So you'd have to go through that list, on the weekend or each night or whatever, and kind of drill it down to only 4 stocks, 5 stocks. And you don't want to watch too many, but that's where you're going to look at the chart and just look at the volatility of the chart or look at the upward trend of the chart. And that's why I have it usually with the daily. When I'm looking at it on that grid pattern, I have a daily as one of the charts and then all the other time frames. So I can get a good idea of one that's squeezing. This one I just pulled up, I mean, it's expensive stock, Ally, I believe that's Allied Financial.
Yeah, it is.
So Ally, go back to that particular chart, you'll see Ally is a stock that, yeah, it's been uptrending, right? It's on an uptrend. It is on a downtrend currently, but it's an uptrending stock, so to speak. On that daily, you do have squeezes on that uptrend. It's currently in a squeeze. That's one where I would worry with it being on that downtrend, whether it's going to continue that. But it kind of did that same thing here. It was on a downtrend. But in this case, that's where those EMAs are on there. It was squeezing while it's above the EMA line. Always a good sign. But that would be one that I would actually probably want to watch, even though it's a higher price stock, 28, with its high of 30 just recently. There's a good chance you'll at least get $2 a gain when it does squeeze. At least that. It's going to continue this same price line, right? That it's had going on. Now it just had. What's the green one, Spaz? Do you know? I know blue and red is conference call earnings. Do you know what the green icon?
You should be able to hover over it and tell you. I don't recall what green is.
I'm on the crosshair. Do I have to be on the?
No, you're on the right. You're on the right.
No, I am on the. I'm on. No, it's not. Oh, there
it
we go.
is. Oh, it's dividend.
Oh, dividend. Okay.
Well, now I know.
Yeah,
As you
well,
know, I don't do anything with dividends.
So I don't use TOS for any dividend points. I use Fidelity for all that stuff, and just research. But this was a good spot. I mean, historically, if you just go by it based off the pattern, there's a good chance that it'll squeeze higher with this current squeeze. But you can see that it's squeezing on the daily. It's squeezing on the 78-minute. It's not squeezing on the other ones, but that's also where I've got that other grid that I can quickly change to. And it's 5 minutes, 15, 30. And see if it's squeezing there. If it's not squeezing there, I mean, it might not be even somewhere that I'd want to play with. That's where the shorter time frames come into play, is as you're looking at something that's squeezing on the long-term chart. Sure, it might be good to play at that point, swing, especially if it's a rising star type stock or whatever. That's where you're going to want to use the shorter term squeezes to see if it's squeezing on the short term. It won't always squeeze on the short term before a run up. There were some recent stocks that I was just looking at. It didn't squeeze. It changed in them. Forgot it would. So that's Ally, actually. On those shorter time frames. So it did squeeze on this one, on the 5 minute, just recently, before this current. Did squeeze here before this current run up. But other than that, I mean, with it squeezing on the daily and its current uptrend, that would be one possibly. It, like I said, maybe gain $2 a share or more. You're looking at more, probably $4 a share, so 10%. But I wouldn't look at gaining much more than that. But that's what I use that watch list for in that scanner. Is I can scroll through that and you can change on that scanner. You can change the you know, I mean, I could add, I actually took off market cap. I didn't want to use the market cap filter, but volume, you could change that to whatever you want, really. Same thing with the moving averages. I wouldn't mess with that, but if you wanted to add in last price and put specific price points, you could do that to the scanner itself. I will post this scanner shortly in the Thinkorswim section, but I'm finding it very useful. I'm definitely finding it very useful. I'm more so using that squeeze indicator. You know, I'm using the other scanners I have to actually pick up big movers, like the engulfing candle scan on the daily chart. I really like that scan. It picks up really big movers for the day as they happen. But if I use that scan and then look at those tickers and see one squeezing, I already know it's on an uptrend because it's on the daily, you know, a daily engulfing candle, bullish engulfing candles. So I know it's on an uptrend already. We actually have a scan Spaz did that uses the daily engulfing candle and the like upward trend something. What is it? I have no idea. That one with intraday uptrend. So it uses the daily engulfing candle and this uptrend thing. I guess that just tells you if the stock has been uptrending lately. So if you're looking at something on this particular watch list scanner and it's squeezing right now, well, that would probably be a good stock to really either pay attention to because it's already on and up. You already know the MACDs, you line it up for how you want to play it, yada yada yada. So that, you know, that's what I've mainly been using. Been using that particular watch list, and then using the TTM squeeze. But I have found the TTM squeeze on the daily chart very useful. Like, and so at the end of the day, right at 4 o'clock, I will look at the TTM squeeze. That's the daily scan, and it will show every single one that's squeezing at the daily, and that's right there at the beginning of after hours. If I feel like that's a stock I want to play, that's really when I'm going to want to play it, not wait until later. The same thing with any of these, what Spaz will talk about in just a moment with the Discord stuff, all these scanners that we've added to Discord work on a daily chart. So you want to view those if you really want to take best advantage of those candlestick patterns. You want to view them at 4 p.m. Eastern every day, because that's when the day. I don't know if they get updated then, Spaz. I don't know, but
I'm not sure yet. It does say it's on a daily, so I'm assuming once the markets close, they should be updating. But
that's what
I'm
I'm
next couple
assuming
days.
too. But that's when the market closes. So that's when you look at those dailies, because that's when people really. A lot of times I've noticed on the daily, because I make my watch list as far as my swing trades and stuff off of these daily engulfing candlestick patterns. That's how I look for a swing trade entry. But then there's plenty of them when it comes up. So you got to look at all the charts, look at what makes sense to you, and that's what you either play or don't play. But a lot of times I've noticed when I'm looking at those, I'm looking at them after hours, after my kids are in bed, so after 8 p.m., after hours is closed. And a lot of them made a move after hours. So I've already missed my chance on that, because if it's already higher than the previous close, then the next daily candlestick has already been made. It's already going to be higher than the previous close. You might have missed that run up or that spot to get in at. So the best time to use anything daily scanning, obviously during the day, as they get populated on a daily scanner is a good use of a daily scanner, but these daily candlestick patterns, the best time is right at 4 p.m. finally finalized for the day. And that's when a lot of people are going to be looking at those as well, like to use candlestick patterns. The reason that you have moving average or VWAP or whatever on your chart is it's effective because a lot of people use it as a point to buy or sell. So same idea here. A lot of people use these candlestick patterns as a point to buy or sell. So a stock that makes sense, with a bullish candlestick pattern is a stock that you might want to play. I've been using them on my swing. If y'all have been watching my my daily whatever, take it off, but my daily watch list, all my swing trades have been based off of candlestick pattern, and pretty much I'd say at least 80% of them have been profitable, not to where I'd really like to. I mean, 10% still 10% for swinging over 4 or 5 days, but some of them are even lower than that, like 5 or 6, 7%. Some of them are more expensive stocks, but some of them, like CEI, that was a swing for over a week or so, and it was over 100% gain. But very few of them, and you would also have stop losses in place. Very few of them would have been a loss at all, and they're all using candlestick patterns. But you'd also want to pay attention to earnings. You don't want to pay attention to candlestick patterns with earnings right around the corner. And you would want to have something like Benzinga Pro where you can get news off of your watch list. So in Benzinga Pro, it's crucial that you have a page where it's just a news feed of your watch list. And you have all of your, especially if you're swinging something and you currently have a position, but you have all of your positions in a watch list. And that particular news feed has notifications turned on, and you're getting those either emailed to you. I think you can get them texted to you. I might be wrong. I know you can get them emailed to you. But you're getting those sent to you somehow, so that, because news, if you're playing a candlestick pattern, news always changes. Could be good. If it's good news, great. And you're swinging it long. But it could be bad news. So you got to pay attention. You don't necessarily want news interfering with your candlestick pattern, especially even if it is good news. You might want to get out, because, like I said, news will interfere with your candlestick pattern. All of a sudden, it'll shoot up. A lot more people will be shorting.
There's always bag holders.
Yeah, so many different outcomes when news hits, that it could completely ruin your entire candlestick pattern that you're swinging on. But if it's good news, go ahead and great, get out at the top, see it and get out. But that's really where Benzinga Pro, sure, other platforms have a way to create a watch list like that, have news like Scans and all those other. I've never used any of them. I've heard Scans is really good, but I don't know if it does that. But that's one really key feature with Benzinga Pro. Is that
I've heard Scans doesn't always get the news as fast as Benzinga, but I've heard they do have some good scanners themselves built in.
Well, I've heard they have great scanners, much better than, if you're looking for scanners, it's better than Benzinga Pro. But if you're looking for a lot of the other features, general layout on and way to get around, because Scans, if I'm not mistaken, Stocks to Trade, which a lot of us have seen, is like a replica of.
I mean, personally, I'd just say avoid paying for any of those services if you're looking for a scanner. You can get that stuff for free. Just obviously Thinkorswim, but I think TradingView is the other one. I don't know if that's paid. I don't know if you have to pay for TradingView, but it's just as customizable from what I'm hearing and seeing.
It has some free stuff at TradingView, and it has some paid stuff. I don't know if the scanners are because I don't use their scanners. I use eTrade. eTrade Pro has a really good scanner setup.
But it's pointless to pay
Right.
for a scanner when you can go get Thinkorswim, open up an account for free, have live free level 2 marketing access, even if you're
No,
not trading,
definitely.
active trading. And
If
then
I
you
knew how
have,
to use,
you can just have unlimited scanners. Granted, you don't want to run them all
yeah,
at the same time, but
but it doesn't have the same features. So I've already looked at
right.
scans as far as the scanners go. I've looked at scans.com. It has a lot better. Now you could, if you knew how to code
There's
and go
definitely
through
gonna be pros and
ThinkScript,
cons.
ThinkScript may be able to do it. I don't know if, I haven't looked at all the different scanners and found out whether it could do it or not. But
what?
more than likely it could. Some of the, I can't remember the.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had something specific.
Look, well, I think I can
Well,
Google it
I
really
actually, I
quick.
can tell you right off the bat, float data. Thinkorswim does not provide float data. You and I have had that conversation a couple times. You
Yeah,
cannot,
exactly.
it does not give you the direct float information, where I believe TradingView actually does.
So
But Thinkorswim, you can have the share and the volume, the market cap stuff right there in front of you to where you can calculate it if you're quick about it.
this is from scans.com, and I was just looking this up the other day because I like to play the free market. So I was like, all right, well, I need something that does a good job of scanning the free market, because that's one thing Thinkorswim doesn't really do a great job of unless you code it into ThinkScript. All of their predefined stuff on Thinkorswim is at least 7 a.m. at the earliest. Most of it's market open when those scanners are actually effective. But some of them 7 a.m.
Yep.
So I was looking for something that really worked, at all times during pre-market. So anyway, scans.com has 4 pre-market scanners that they recommend building into scans.com. And the criteria for this particular one that I'm looking up, this is gappers with volume. So it's going to be a previous day gapper or a gapper from the previous day.
Are you showing us something?
Huh?
Are you showing us something?
Oh.
Or you just?
Oh, yeah. I guess I could. I could actually show you this. Yes. As opposed to, yes. There you go. So you can see it now. This is gappers with volume. And it says previous day close is greater than analytic previous day open. Last is greater than analytic previous day close. And day trades is greater than or equal to value of 2000. I don't think you can make that in Thinkorswim without going through Thinks. I could be wrong.
I believe you can actually. It's just which values are you actually selecting and how you're actually setting it up. You almost have to do it as a custom.
I've tried, but I didn't try using any of the custom studies. So I tried using just like the stock.
I'm thinking more of how I did it in the alerts when I created the alert. How I go in the custom and it's comparing it to another value. That's basically how you'd have to basically do it.
But either way, Thinkorswim is great, and it does have a lot of free stuff. It does have some paid stuff. But then gappers breaking resistance. So again, same idea. Whether those can be made in Thinkorswim, I don't know. Pre-market reversal. Again, whether those can be made in Thinkorswim, I don't know. And then bullish MACD and RSI. Don't think those can be made. Thinkorswim. But probably can be, but like I said, so this one is that pre-market gap scans for Thinkorswim, but you got to pay for it. But it's only one time.
Yeah.
If you buy it for $100,
he's got some really good scans.
And so yeah,
he's
so
got
reading
indicators even.
what you get from this. He's got some, not just the pre-market gap scan that he created. But to create that gap scan, he has some studies that you get with this, with paying for it, that you can incorporate into a scanner of your own. And so that's one reason I'm thinking about actually paying for this particular one. I forget which one it was, but it was one that he's got one in here that has a range. So it tests for the range of the day. Yeah, yesterday's range. Or no, that's, but it has a study built into this that tests for the range. And so I want that study, because I'm going to incorporate that study into a different scan that uses the engulfing candles and the TTM squeeze. I'm thinking about incorporating all of those together as well. So then you have an engulfing candle that's squeezing with a range of 50% gain potential. I want to look at that stock. That's something I want to look at. So by incorporating all of those together, I'm going to get very few alerts throughout a day of that met all that criteria. I don't know if all of those are going to work together. I'm trying to work together. So far, I've got ones that are really good that use daily engulfing candles. So you already know it's on an uptrend. And then it uses 3-minute, 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute, any minute, basically.
Those things are fantastic.
Engulfing candles. Those work really well because you've got an uptrending stock and it's got an engulfing candle. You could even add that one that I was showing you a minute ago that Spaz created that already has the uptrend on it as well. But if it's on the daily engulfing candle, the bullish daily engulfing candle, it's generally speaking on an uptrend. Now you will have some of those that spiked off of news. So again, it's a candlestick pattern that's playing off of news. Don't necessarily want to pay attention to the candlestick pattern. And in this case, if it's still bullish based off the news, it could have already lost 75%, but it's still up 25% today. So it's still a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. And I still probably would want to pay for this or pay attention to it, especially with the market lately. The plays have been playing the next day or even the next day. They've been spiking higher than their news high or whatever the case may be. But yeah, so you may still want to pay attention to it. But a lot of those ones that are on the daily bullish engulfing by themselves, it could be, if it's up for the day, that the candlestick's probably daily engulfing if it's up a significant amount. So you got to keep that in mind. It might be downtrending at the time. So that one thing that Spaz added, actually, it's an uptrend for the most recent. I forget. I looked at it.
There's actually another one that I found recently. The trend period. There's another one. I accidentally added it one day. It's actually called the zigzag trend percent, and I added that in replacement of the trend period on my sub chart. I actually have it layered with my Yak Bros relative strength RSI.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's not showing right now, but it was actually showing a tighter reversal on the trend periods.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not showing.
Real quick, I'm going to show y'all. I've already spoke for a long enough period of time. Actually, almost take a cigarette break, or at least a weed break. But anyway, really quick, I'm going to show you kind of like how I do my watch list, because I do my watch list extremely quickly. For one, any of my swings, obviously my continued swings, I look at their chart. If it had a bad day, if I'm playing it, I've already been looking. I already know if it had a bad day. I'm already in or out. But if it's one that I'm just testing to see how well it does or whatnot, which a lot of the ones on my watch list continue on my watch list. I didn't play them. There have been a couple that I played, but not those, not most of them. So I'll just look at the daily chart usually, and the daily chart candlestick is still on an uptrend, it stays on my swing. If it's downtrended, it's off my swing, and I put it in the closed section of my swing. So anyway, Monday for Benzinga Pro, I'm going to delete that, whatever it is. And that's from a previous. And then I'm going to go to movers. So I got on my watch list that I post in Discord, I've got the 4 a.m. and main watch. Main watch could come from anything based off of news or based off of a really good mover the previous day, maybe that pushed 1 billion volume or whatever the case may be. OTCs, if it's an OTC I think is going to move a lot, it'll be a main watch because those are highly volatile, so I like to watch those throughout the whole day. 4 a.m. watches though, and sometimes my main watches basically come from this after hours session, and that's it, because lately that is what's been playing. Whatever moved in after hours, highest mover, 4 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., 11 a.m. always makes the move up from that point. You could almost always buy right at 4 a.m. I don't recommend that, but always buy right at 4 a.m. and guarantee at some point it's going to go up. It might go down, and that's why I don't recommend buying it right at 4 a.m. It might go down a bit, but at some point it's going to reach that previous high, or whatever it closed at after hours. So all I'm doing is clicking on these, and that's it. I click on it, I look at the chart. Okay, I want to add that. Just because the volume didn't really fade off, didn't close at the high, but I'm not worried about that. And it uptrended from the initial spike. It pulled back, and it closed higher than that. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for it to break this, because sometimes those news spikers spike a huge amount right off the news. So I'm not necessarily looking for it to break that high. If it does, great, that's perfect. But if it closed higher than the initial pullback, that's good enough for me. So that's considered a 4 a.m. play for me. Whether it's my top 4 a.m. play, usually my top 4 a.m. play has been the top player. But in this case, I already saw on the mover screen, they were all around the same percent, top 3, I think. So I'm also looking at float, which I can see on the screen. 11 million float, that's one that I definitely want to keep in eye. And it's ISIG, which ISIG I have, it's been on the watch list for the last week or so. It's done quite well. I just closed that, and it takes me right back to the mover screen. VHC, okay. I also can look at the news. It's down here. So if it's moving off of news, it's obviously going to be this top news story or top few news stories. None of these are moving off. But yeah, this kind of took off right at 6:30. I'd kind of like to know why, but I'm not really concerned with it. All I'm concerned with is that it did well. I had good volume candles and closed on its high. So it's definitely on the watch. This would be one that I would actually probably, if I shorted stocks, this would be actually probably on short watch list for Monday, as opposed to the one. It may still break this high later on, 4 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. that I was talking about. All these ones that seem to, at least lately, after hours, do well, always beat those highs. But right at 4 a.m., this is definitely, I would be looking to short. Not a super low float either, which only makes the short side better, the downside. So 63 million, that definitely wouldn't be my top focus, even though it closed on its highs. That's really nice. No news, no reason, and no the float's not low enough for me. Close that out. Again, that one, is that a warrant? No. Don't want to play that. I have no interest in that one candlestick buy, unless, was it right at the close? No, it was at 7 a.m. exactly. So I'm not really interested in that, but that may be one that wants to grab your interest. I have said that before. If a stock has got a huge spike in the last 15 minutes or so, might want to pay attention to that. Somebody knows something. So maybe you want to put that on your watch list, but that's not going on my watch. Not me particularly. If I miss out on the play, I miss out on whatever. Float's not good enough. I don't usually look at the downtrending stocks unless it's one that I recognize. Then I may look at the downtrending stock to play a bounce. That's very rare. Again, VRNA, I'm not interested in it. It had one gain off of one trade, probably. Not interested in that. Once it gets under 10%, I'm not interested in anything. So ATHE, that's the last one. Again, same thing. I'm not interested in that either. So not a lot going on, kind of like what Spaz said. Not a lot going on over the weekend news-wise or after-hours session-wise. I do look at the regular session real quick as well and look at the top plays from that. Again, short side, long side. This, I don't want any part of this. Now, if this is on my watch list on Thinkorswim, I actually look at the squeeze indicator and other indicators that might have actually put this on my watch list. I don't think MARPS is on my Friday watch list, but I do that also, which I'll go into in just a second. But yeah, same thing. I go through all of these real quick, and that one is more interesting than MARPS, but probably still would not go on my watch list. Basically, what I'm looking for on the regular session is for the stock to be on an uptrend, close on its highs, because it's not in the after-hours mover session as far as above 10%, because it didn't make 10% in the after-hours, but it stayed at its high from the close of the day. So that's how they get added to my watch list there. Then obviously News Desk, I actually haven't been using this. I use this News Desk during the day, but to create my watch list, I've been using this one, which basically is all the news sources. It gets every little bit of news, and then the SEC filings are on the bottom, and then it's got a detail. But I'm not going to go through the news, but I would go through the news on that. Add any of those news to my watch list as well. Then I'd actually be looking at the Friday watch that I had in Thinkorswim, because that is whatever I was paying attention to as far as on the, during the day. Those are the stocks that I saw move. So that's what I'd be looking at there, as well as the OTCs. And then I'd also look, if it was Friday, I can't look at it now, I don't think. I'm surprised the squeeze is actually visible there. Maybe that is it. No, the long squeeze is the one I would look at. So it is actually visible. Usually it's not visible the next day. But I'd go through that as well. See if any of these look interesting to me on the chart, whether I want to play it. I'm mainly looking at that when I look at the chart. So I'll transition chart. Now you know which watch list. I'm going to just click through those watch lists and look at the squeeze indicator. Look at my daily chart as well. I actually have a grid on my center monitor as well. I haven't showed you my monitor setup, so I've got the watch list thing on one monitor, my main chart on one monitor, and then I do have a grid on the center monitor. And that grid I would usually, so I don't have to click back and forth and get the stupid loading screen. But I'd usually have that grid set to one of them, and the other grid set to the other, because I'm actually usually not looking at the daily chart, because I usually have my engulfing candle grid on the one monitor. So that's showing me engulfing candles on the 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, or on the slower time or the faster time, the 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute. One of those two for the engulfing candle. And then I'll have the squeeze as well, that grid up on the other monitor, whichever time frame I want. To create my watch list, obviously, though, I'm not using the engulfing candle unless I want to see an engulfing candle at the end of the after hours. Sometimes that can be useful, but usually, especially over a weekend, I don't find that useful. If it had an engulfing candle at 7:59 a.m., that doesn't mean it's run on 4 a.m. on Monday. But I do look at the squeeze indicator, and if it's squeezing, it's something that I may add to my watch list as well. I'll look at the squeeze on anything that ran on Friday and kind of look at it to see KBSF here. When you're looking at the squeeze indicator real time, because I've been doing that on the lower, the faster time frames, 3 minute, 1 minute, 5 minute. Really what you're looking at, I know I'm not on 5 minutes right here, but what you're looking at for the red, when it turns red like that, if these are yellow and red already, that's a good sign. So if it's steadily climbing up and closing on this yellow and red downtrend, so to speak, and it's squeezing, that's usually a good sign that it's going to reverse and squeeze to the upside. And then same thing though, if it's currently on the upside and it starts to squeeze, it's actually usually a good sign that it's going to squeeze to the downside. Not always the case, but if you're going to use the squeeze indicator, something to keep in mind. You do want to pay attention to those momentum trend bars on the top and bottom of the line for the squeeze indicator. But that's basically how I'll make my watch list. Really simple, not hard to do, and it's very, very, very effective. The problem is you're not picking a stock to say, hey, that's the stock I'm going to play. I have been doing that lately. I've had a top focus, and that's really the only stock that I'll play that day. But a setup has to come to me. So the only reason I might miss out on another big play, especially on one that's on my watch list. But I find it better for me to trade when I have a singular focus. The setup will come to you, and that's why you want those stocks that are high volume, already running with momentum. If you're looking at those stocks, the setup's going to come to you some point during the day, at least to make 10%. And really, honestly, with all of us, I would think 10% is just fine, especially if you're going high risk side. So if you've got a $2,000 account and you throw it all in, 10% is $200. $200 for most of us, well, for anybody, is $50,000 a year, assuming you trade every single trading day. Well, it's $48,000, close enough. But that's really good. So I'm not saying everybody trades with $2,000 every trade, but that's just an example where 10% is not bad. Same thing when I have those swing trades on my watch list and they only gain 10%, that's fine. Because if I actually took those swing watch lists that I've been putting out lately and I played every single one of those with the same dollar amount, not same share value or share value amount, same dollar amount, I would be well in the positive, right? You know, and you lose some, but that's where your stop loss comes in, and then you win some, and you win some really well. But all the others that are only 8% here, 6% there, whatever, all that shit adds up, you know, and eventually it turns out, and I didn't have to do anything on swing trades. Really, well, I would have been, knowing me, I can't just let my money sit there and me not have some sort of eye on it, even when I was a long-term investor. Well, even on my long-term investments I have now, but when I was only a long-term investor, I still looked at the stock market every day and looked at all of my positions every day, even though I knew there was no way I was going to trade it or anything like that at that time. But it's just the way I am. I got to look at all my stuff all the time, every single day. So that's pretty much all I had. I know I went on and rambled for a while now. I am going to toss it off to Spaz, who can talk all about Discord and whatever else he wants to talk about. But there's plenty of Discord changes for him to talk about, and I will go over those as well. At least the scanner section can talk about, or he can go over if he wants to. How to use that to create a watch list. Kind of similar how I just created a watch list. Very similar. But those also are how I create my swing trade ideas, is off of candlestick patterns and other reasons. Like Peloton right now would be a good swing for me, in my opinion. Like I just said, do not swing through earnings. I would swing through Peloton